God sees our heart. And so for me, at times when my heart has not felt very pretty and I have really struggled with that, I hated how I felt. I really went to God and asked God to, how do I convince these people to do the right thing when I don't even like some of these people? Your decision can really impact these people and you could really make a difference. So here are the 5 rules that I've learned throughout my career of how to see people in a corporate environment. My mom used to tell me all the time growing up, being in high school, pretty is as pretty does. And what she meant by that is that, some people can be really beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, they're really ugly. And even for myself, I think I'm really hard on myself. And it's like, oh, my smile's a little crooked. Could it be better? My mom said that I loved the whole Sarah Evans song where it was like the brunettes want to be blonde, the straight-haired girls want to have curls. I always wanted something more, right? Or something better. And I think about what God wants for us is God looks at us as like we're perfectly made. God sees our heart. And so for me, at times when my heart has not felt very pretty and I have really struggled with that, I hated how I felt about certain circumstances or a certain person, I really went to God and asked God to change my heart. Okay, great. Pretty is as pretty does. But how do I really treat people who maybe I don't like or maybe that I don't see a beauty in? How do I treat them well? There's a lot of people I met with at health plans that some I liked and some I really didn't. Some were really pretty hateful, quite frankly. And I was like, how do I convince these people to do the right thing when I don't even like some of these people? So I had to really, really work hard to say, what does God think about these people? Or what is something really good about this person that I can, look at? And so and how also can I just make conversation? One thing I would do is I had something what I call the Whatchamacallit. And it was like, find something on that person that is beautiful, so maybe it was their smile or their hair or a bracelet that they have on. And I'd say, what's that? And I would also make sure I was wearing a whatchamacallit. So I always had something on me that someone could ask me about so that we could have conversation. I started thinking about, well, how do I go talk to these complete strangers? And I remember a woman that I met with at lunch. I thought, how am I going to connect with this woman? She's talking about her sending off her kids off to Sweden for college. And I was like, my mom and dad couldn't even afford college. So I felt like I didn't really have a lot in common with her. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to make this almost a challenge. I'm never going to really talk about myself. And so we had lunch. I didn't know anything about this woman. And so I just started out, I think, who knows, I found something in common, said, oh, I love your hair. And then she would say, well, thanks, and I said, well, tell me, how did you grow up? And she started telling me about that. And I would think, how can I keep this conversation going and going and going? And I literally hardly talked about myself the entire lunch, only talked about her. And at the end of the lunch, she said, you know what? This was the best lunch I've ever had. This is great. And really, it was just because I got her talking about herself. And people really won't care about what you have to say until they know that you care about them. And so that's what I've always tried to do, is really to try and develop relationships with people, see what God thinks and sees in them, and find the good in their heart. So in order to really listen effectively, you have to ask better questions. Listening means love. I never heard that before. And that is so true, right? People want to talk about themselves all the time. But what if we just listen? What if we listened more than we talked? And so I really had to work a lot on my listening skills, and I still do. I try with my team nowadays to listen more, hear what's going on in their life, let them know that I really do care about them. I know when I worked with my leadership coach, he had said, do you treat your employees like you treat your customers? I had treated my customers, the health plans, like gold. I wanted to know about their family, their friends, all the things. I wanted to develop a relationship with them. But my own team, I did what I learned, and I pushed them really, really hard. And I didn't like the way I was showing up as a leader. Maybe they have a different approach. Maybe their approach is better than mine. Or maybe I didn't think of something else. So I really had to learn, did I listen to their perspective before I offered my own? So I know that through my career, I have really worked hard to get health plans, legislators, do what I wanted them to do, right? To persuade them, whatever it was. It's like, it was about me. Like, what can I get from them? Okay, I need this contract. I need this relationship, whatever. Throughout my career, though, I have really learned, and of course, working with a lot of leadership coaches, that it's more about how can I serve others. Your decision can really impact these people, and you could really make a difference.